Okay, there's a question. What this
What
development
always
is for Georgia? Very, very interesting. I think Georgia is. I don't know how this particular development would directly apply to Georgia. And Georgi, please, jump in at any point. I think precedent-wise, this may not be a good thing for Georgia. Because if the United States decides to resettle whoever the president decides, then what stops somebody else, some other president, let's say Vladimir Putin, to resettle people um, in the territories of his choosing? So, in that sense, I think precedent wise, at least it's only been less than 24 hours. So, we need to see how it continues. But I don't see a positive for Georgia in this case. In the case of Ukraine and sort of transactional nature, maybe of assisting Ukraine, that could actually be good for Georgia because if Ukraine achieves with America's and Western help just peace and ensures that there are certain mechanisms that prevent Russia from reinvading in another 10 years or 15 years, then that's a guaranteed sort of, for the region, that's a guaranteed stability in a sense, which I think will have implications on Georgia. I do believe today that Ukraine's success, Georgia's success depends, democratic success, I should say, depends on Ukraine's victory or just peace in Ukraine. And if rare earth minerals that Ukraine is willing to commit, if they are doing that, helps resolve this and helps end the war to benefit Ukraine, I think that will be good for Georgia in that sense.
Yeah, very legitimate. I also see several, let's say, parallels in this process. First of all, when it comes to setting up the precedent, I would say not literally related to the resettlement of people or something like that. I would say the willingness of United States to move into the troubled area to settle certain problems. Because any conflict, any war is unique, and the settlement should also be a unique one-off exercise. It should not be, like taking copy paste from one place to another. That's literally impossible because all conflicts, etc., are different. Secondly, when we go back theoretically at the moment to this idea of building the canal and securing the maritime trade routes globally, in this case, I would transfer it softly towards building Anaklia port in the
The
Georgian
middle
regions
border.
and securing the maritime trade routes in the Black Sea, because we are talking about, when we talk about Ukraine, there are several issues related to the safety, security, and peace for Ukraine. One of those, among others, of course, is the Black Sea security.
Mhm.
And the Black Sea security cannot be assured without securing maritime borders and maritime trade through Georgia. And
But
this is the most, because this is a gateway to the very important region where actually the United States is competing with other powers, but mainly with China, and I'm talking about Central Asia. Without Port of Anaklia and controlling the port, and we understand that, first and foremost, United States is a maritime power, is the biggest maritime power in the world. Uh, and uh, this port can play a huge role in the trade between the East and West. Not only China and the West, but also Central Asia with all its resources. Because, as you said, access to resources becoming a very important factor in the politics. And when we're talking about, for example, Canada, Greenland, United States, etc., we are talking about the North Pole. And why we're talking about the North Pole? Because of the resources that are actually located there, and we know that
and
because
and
of
the
the
trade routes. Yeah.
and the trade routes, and because of the global warming, by 2013, well, that's the prediction or calculation, the northern roads through the North Pole will be possible because of the melting of the ice there.
Yes, which is going to shorten. Actually, is going to cut the time from Asia to North America by half.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, by
it's
half.
it's a
And
lot
this
of
is
it's a lot of money. It's a lot of time.
this is also important. And when we're talking about possibility of building Ben Gurion Canal, when we're talking about another very important spot, which is Panama Canal, and we don't have time now, but we probably speak about it in the future. I'm talking about the visit of Secretary Rubio to Panama, and negotiations that he had over there, and the commitments that both countries now have related to the issue. And now we are talking about also the Anaklia port. These are all part of the one chain, which is the international logistics network.
Yes.
And
Yeah. I mean,
if we are talking about development of economic development of United States in the future in a certain way that you already mentioned earlier in this program, I think the safety of maritime routes, trade routes, are very important for the United States.
absolutely. Yes.
So
And
that's
to so
how I view the precedent of Gaza or everything that relates to the Middle East right now when it is translated to Georgia.
yeah. Yeah, and I would also say that it's up to the Georgians to make the case for the United States or to anybody else that this is an important part of real estate. This is an important part of the trade routes between Asia and Europe. Black Sea is becoming a very strategic piece of water or um, sea for NATO and the Western allies. So is it for Russia, and we're seeing that by constructing a port in Ochamchira and many other things that Russia has done in the Black Sea. We should, by the way, talk about this at one of the shows because things are.
Yeah, not only that, but I would like to mention here that completion of the renovation of the airport in Sukhumi, in Babushera Airport, which has a very long, 3.6 kilometer long strip.
Mhm.
This is the longest strip in Georgia.
Yeah,
That
well, because
is
initially,
never closed. The airport is never closed because of the weather conditions and the climate, and it can be used for military purposes very easily,
yes, yes,
especially
that's why it's so
for
long.
strategic bombing.
Yeah, that's why it's so long because it's for military purposes and civilian, just the civilian,
Yeah,
whatever civilian airplanes or aircraft are using it now is because they are allowed to use it. But obviously, it's a military infrastructure for when it's needed. So I think to our viewers' question, Georgia needs to be doing its homework right now. This is the kind of time when we're seeing so many changes, and Georgia needs to define its place in this universe. And at this point, it sounds like the Georgian authorities are choosing to intensify their relationship with China as opposed to the West. So we'll see. It's very hard to know how this is going to continue. Again, in my
and
view, everything
unfortunately,
hinges on how and when the war ends in Ukraine. So let's be hopeful.
unfortunately, Georgia is in turbulent times, so we do hope that uh, sooner or later, but better sooner, it will be back on track and will fulfill
and on the
its
Western
obligation.
radar, as opposed to
Yeah,
Russian, Chinese, and Iranian radars.